Hello, hello, hello! Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to the very first episode of the Listen to Keith Harkin podcast of 2021. Show number 11. Believe it or not, 2020 obviously sucked for not being on tour. We can all say that as a musician. But I started a podcast and I've been doing my online shows and I've been loving creating content for you people, I have to admit. I thank each and every one of you for doing that. Today on the show is one of my oldest influences in music, Andy Wright. Andy took me under his wing when I was 18 years old. When I moved to London, he was the reason why I went there, Andy and Gavin Goldberg. And before I get into the podcast though, I want to do a bit of house cleaning. I want to tell you about my studio, the Barn Studios in Donegal in Ireland. It's a fully residential recording studio, massive live rooms, separation rooms, mixing room, and basically it's open for business hopefully in March 2021, and I would love to have any of you musician friends out there come to me with your projects to check out the studio. Secondly, I want to tell you guys about Glack House, or Glack House if you're from Donegal. Glack House is our wedding and event space Airbnb place in Donegal, also in Ireland, and we are hopefully opening up for 2021. We are now taking bookings. Our books are opened up because apparently the government says that we can open up then. Glack is a 200-year-old stone barn. We have beautiful A-frame cabins, a beautiful cabin called the Snug. We have beautiful bell tents, which are nicer than my house inside, and we would love to have you guys come and stay with us. Please check it out, www.glackhouse.com. Okay. Show number 11, my dear friend Andy Wright. Andy has produced everybody from Jeff Beck, Pavarotti, you name it, Mick Hucknall, Simply Red, yours truly. Andy mixed and produced the album Mercy Street for me along with Gavin Goldberg, and I love him to bits. We've known each other since I was 18, so that's quite a few years now. Anyway, enjoy the podcast. Also, if you do like this podcast, please check out my Patreon page, patreon.com/Keith Harkin. It's my Patreon community that fund these podcasts and help me create all this free content for everybody each day to enjoy. Show number 11. I have lots of more in the works for you coming up over the next few weeks. Big love, enjoy the show, and click subscribe on my YouTube channel. Peace!
It's the obvious solution.
See, normally I'm in the studio and I just walk in, I press a button, and everything works perfectly. But, you know, that's what happens when you're staying in royalty palaces and stuff like that.
Well, I mean, I suppose a lot of the infrastructure of the palace is a bit antiquated, you know. Because of the technically that could be the reason.
I think it just might be one of them evenings, because I went to light the fire there now as well, and I've lit it a few times downstairs. I never normally use downstairs in this house, and something's blocking the chimney in the room filled with smoke.
Shit.
So, anyway, for all you listeners out there, this is a dear friend of mine, Andy, and I've known Andy since I was about 18 years old, when I was a young, innocent lad from Derry City. Butter wouldn't have melted in my mouth. But Andy is a rock star and has been someone who's always been there for me. So you have, Andy, I have to admit, you've always been there for me. So I love you, man. And I'm delighted that you're here talking bullshit with me. What are you up to currently? What are you doing?
Talking to you currently, but yeah, you know, it's sort of, you know, working my way through lockdown. And we were pretty lucky last year, really, because just as lockdown started, we got projects that were just ready to kind of dig in and mix and edit and spend ages on. And we did about 6 months of that, while Simple Minds took a break. We sort of resumed with them. Although this isn't an official announcement that we're doing a new album, it's just we're working on new material. Let's put it like that. So that's and then we're back. Now we're back onto that for the time being. I'm also, I mean, these are my sort of stable clients. I've just spent the day with Mick Hucknall today, working on some new material, I guess, and we'll see what happens with all that. But yeah. How
old's Mick Hucknall now? Is he like 84 or something like that?
Good question. Well, I'm 58. And he was 60 last year.
Is he 60 now?
Yeah.
The boy can still sing.
Well, the good thing is quite a few of my artists are 60 plus. Some of them are a lot younger than me as well, but with those, I'm still the kind of young, slightly younger guy with young, fresh ideas as far as they're concerned, and I don't really want to change their way of thinking because keep it all coming.
What's it like? What's it like working with Mike Cocknell? I know you've been working with him for a lifetime now. Like, how many records and songs have you guys done together? A lot.
Well, the first day we spent together was October the 17th, 1994. And I know this because it was my eldest son's first birthday, and I had to sort of, that was the day that I left to go up to stay in a hotel to work. I suppose we started working on the 18th, but I stayed for my son's first birthday party, and about 5 o'clock drove up to Manchester. And I remember the night before having a dream that he hated me. So I went in and we spent about 5 minutes, and he went, "No, this isn't going to work," and then kicked me out because he's sort of got a reputation for being difficult. And actually, it's not always difficult. I find in some ways he's really good to work with. But anyway, here we are, sort of 26 years later, and I'm still doing it. We've done, I think, 10 albums together. 8 Simply Red albums and 2 Mick Hucknall albums. So there's 2 solo albums.
That's amazing.
I don't want to try and discourage him from continuing. I just sort of, take the call when he's ready to do something, and then we crack on.
It's funny. I done a covers show online on Stage It. I've been doing these online shows once a week since March 16th last year. The day before Paddy's Day, and I'd done a cover of Stars by Mick Hucknall, and I didn't think it was. I just didn't know ignorantly that it would have been such a big hit in America. And when I started singing it, everybody online was just like commenting like, "Oh, I love this song. This is such a great song. I love this song." I was singing it thinking it would be a left field kind of song in the States, but obviously not.
Yeah, I mean, I think, his sort of golden period, as it were, in America was so much earlier than that, because in 1985, he had his first number one in America with Holding Back the Years. And then he also had another number one in America with If You Don't Know Me By Now, which was 2 or 3 albums before Stars. Yeah, there was obviously a long, a tale from having a couple of number ones in America is going to last for a few years of people being interested. Actually, I was in the band for I think it was 8 shows or something back in 1998, 99, around that time. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, because your face has gone stop. But I did 6 shows with him at the Lyceum in London. I was sort of playing keyboards, backing vocals, and a bit of cabasa. That was basically long and short of it. It was a sort of utility role. I did the keyboard parts that were easy, and buried my harmonies in with the good singers, and got away with it. And then I was sort of the MD because I was already producing the band and got appointed as MD. And so when he asked me if I'd do those few shows with him, I kind of obviously said yes, because I thought, well, that'll be good fun. And there were 2 shows in America. One was at the foot of the World Trade Center, so that was 1998, and the other one was for Mayor Giuliani, I think it was. Anyway, so and then after that, I fired myself because I was the MD, and I thought, well, I don't really want to do the world tour. I've kind of got kids, and I'd rather be at home.
Did you see, sorry, the curveball that before I forget, but did you see Giuliani in the new Borat movie?
No, I haven't seen it yet. I've actually only yesterday I was saying I really want to watch that movie.
Oh my God.
Well, yeah, I mean, I've read about it, obviously, and I don't know what his excuse was. I mean,
you just want the ground to open up and swallow you when you're watching it.
I know. Actually, the thing about the new Borat movie is I'm a bit scared of watching it, really, because I know that there's a kind of movies I find I really want to see it, and I saw the first one, loved it, but I find them that almost I get too embarrassed watching. It's like watching an old Norman Wisdom movie. It's just like, no, please don't do that. It's too embarrassing.
You know what's even worse? I remember sitting down to watch the very first Borat with my mum, not knowing what the fuck it was about. And my mom's a rock and roll chick, but she's not like, she doesn't like swearing. She's pretty Catholic, she's pretty straight laced in that manner. And I was watching it, and then like when the two of them started wrestling naked and they're like 69, and I remember my mom was in the room and she was just going, turn it off. That's it. I can't take any more of this now. That's enough. And I was fucking howling, laughing at the screen.
Well, I think that's, there are some great moments in movies, of comedy moments, but that for me is top 5 most funny thing in a film of all time. It's side-splittingly funny and embarrassing and amazing.
Like, how could you even be the guy standing filming that? Like, everybody in the room must have been just had their hands in their head going, Jesus, is this actually happening? We're going here. We're doing it.
I tell you what, that guy, he's got balls. My God, he's got, there's some of the things he does. I wouldn't have the balls to do that in a million years.
I know of someone who basically is on his legal team.
Right.
Apparently, over the last 6 months, because of a lot of those things in that movie, basically, like, the FBI are like tracking everything he does. They're like, apparently the lawyers think that their phones are being tapped also. And this is like a big law firm. Like, they're not just you can only imagine his legal. Apparently right now he is like getting hit from every angle from everybody.
Is this actually quite dangerous what he does? Is it, some of the places where he sort of, even on the first movie, some of the, he stood up and, I don't know, sang the national anthem for
for Kazakhstan.
Kazakhstan.
I know. Like he was standing in the middle of a rodeo arena somewhere in Texas, or like, I don't know. Like, you're playing with fire. Most people in there have a gun to start, and you stand in the middle of an arena in a room full of the biggest patriots in one of the biggest patriotic countries in America. I'm an American citizen myself. I know that. And you stand there and start going, oh, Kazakhstan, like, he's lucky he didn't get shot dead,
I totally agree. Yeah, there's probably, dangerous, very dangerous. But, God love him for doing it.
So that was you played for Mayor Giuliani in New York, those 2
games? Yeah, that was back in 99, I think 98, 99. I did a few things. I did some promo with him. But anyway, just to say, because that, obviously being sort of 99, 98, 99 was way after his kind of most successful period of time in America. And, so people didn't really know him as well as, as they could. And I suppose, I don't know what would be a similar equivalent really here. I suppose like Fine Young Cannibals playing or something like that, who had, a few hits and were great, and then nobody really hears of them anymore and you remember them. But of course, everywhere else in the world, with South America and Europe, especially Japan, and, he's still got, selling a huge amount of tickets, selling arena gigs out around the world. So, it's we've had some longevity there.
Yeah, the boy can sing without a doubt. He's definitely. There was footage of Mick Hucknall doing a thing with like B.B. King and John Mayer, was it?
Well, he did a recording with B.B. King. I don't know if it was a live thing, and I went to the session actually with him. I can't remember what it was. It was one of BB's albums, I think, with sort of Juice. I'll probably be able to find it. And he invited me occasionally, sort of, because I suppose after all that time, even then, you'd sort of phone me up like a mate and say, hey, I'm doing this recording with BB King. Do you want to come? And I'll go, sure. Why wouldn't I want to come? And so I went to that session, and Paul Carrick was playing the organ and was amazing. I didn't realize what a good organ player it was. They had Pino Palladino on bass, one or two other luminaries of the music world in the band, And I just was there ligging, really, to tell you the truth. I wasn't producing it or anything. They had another producer there, it was BB's producer. And I had a cameraman there as well, who was taking pictures of the event and all the rest of it. And I got a picture of myself with BB, and he was holding Lucille, the red guitar. And afterwards, I said to the cameraman, please can I have a copy of that photo? And I never heard from him again. He took my address and stuff. Anyway, so I guess it exists somewhere, but I never ever saw it. Otherwise, I'd have been having that framed and sticking it on a wall somewhere.
But if a tree falls in the forest, do you hear it?
Are you suggesting that it didn't actually happen?
I mean, I don't know.
By the way,
it's funny. Like all the photographs that I had of the time when I lived in London, basically, and hung out with all you guys when I was like 18, 19 years old. They're all on a hard drive somewhere on Gav's old computer. I had a camera in my pocket. It was just when like digital cameras just came out, and my one was like this huge, big spherical camera. And I remember taking photographs to the point that people used to get pissed off, and I loved it. But now thinking back, like I wished I'd seen them. And Gav said he's seen them once, and he looked for them, and he can't find them. And it's all photographs of all that time, because I didn't have a laptop, so I just remember putting it on Gav's computer to see it.
Oh, have you asked for him if he's still got them somewhere?
I did ask him, and he did say he's seen them one time, and then when he looked for them, he couldn't find them. They're there somewhere. They'll pop up.
Yeah. You got to, with Gavin, you have to march him to the computer and say, "Find them now."
Yeah, well, I'll do that next time. I'll just load on and bring them
that. Yeah, I know. I mean, was it? I mean, you moved over 2005, was it?
I was 18.
Yeah.
So, no, 2004.
2004, yeah. So you have to take 18 off of 2004, and then is that was that 1986?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
How like you were saying you started recording McCocknell and when?
Oh no, that was 10 years before. That was 19. Yeah, exactly. So no, that was 1994.
Yeah.
So yeah,
86.
Yeah.
I'm 35 in June.
Well, it was an interesting time when you first came over. Of course, I came over to Derry and with a view of sort of finding new talent, and I'd been advised by a mutual friend of ours that that's where all the talent was, in Derry. So he sort of put an advert in a paper, and I think it was something that your mum or your auntie or somebody had said.
Somebody had seen it, in a paper.
Yeah, and then you auditioned along with quite a lot of other people, and I thought you were shit actually, but no, I'm kidding. I didn't really. No, I obviously 18-year-old guy comes in playing guitar, singing his own song. It was really impressive. And on that particular occasion, of course, I also found the band Delaware, who I thought were great, and Joanna Fagan. And so we were setting up this idea of having a label. And of course, we had an investor who sort of wound up disappearing and, as you know, left me holding the baby. And so you were in London, and that was it. And what we were going to do, I mean, we sort of set some stuff up. We got some things going. Obviously, complicated, difficult to have a band like Delaware, who like a 6-7 piece band, and every time they all flew to England, and then you had to rent them a van and accommodation, and it was just it was like a money pit, the whole thing.
I was lucky because I was staying at my auntie Michelle's.
I remember, it was in Wimbledon, in
Clapham, Collier's Wood, actually.
It's near Wimbledon, though, is it?
Yeah, it's Wimbledon, but like it's closer to Collier's. It's closer to Clapham, kind of.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah. Like I would always hang out in Clapham. Actually, it's sort of in between Wimbledon and Clapham, sort of halfway.
Yeah. I know. I drove you there a few times there. But it was so that was the idea at the time, because the music business sort of changed a lot around sort of 2003, 4, and I'd had a really good stretch of, I suppose you could call success, between 95, 96 and around 2003, with lots of major artists and a lot of record sales, and all looking really good. And of course, the whole sort of download, it wasn't even streaming then, it was just download. All of a sudden people weren't, record companies weren't investing in new music. There was obviously more of a financial crisis within the music business because people could download stuff for free, and record companies just decided they were running out of money and they'd spend it all on the back catalogue rather than new product. So that was sort of that found me in a bit of what we'd call a sort of a hole that I had tried to sort of navigate by starting up a production company, finding talent, of which you were one of them, and then and of course, as I say, the rug slightly got pulled from my feet by the investor disappearing. And
what was his name again?
Max.
Mad Max.
Max, yeah. So he disappeared. But anyway, of course, then you were in London, and you were great because you just sort of took care of yourself, and I think you got a job in a hairdresser's, didn't you?
Yeah.
Well, you were sweeping up the hair or something.
I ended up getting as far as doing blow dries and tints. I could do a tint on an old woman's head.
Blow dries and tints.
Blow jobs and tints. Hey, show me your blow jobs and your blow dries and tints there.
I was going to say, but anyway, this is a family show, so
it really isn't actually. It's whoever wants to watch it. Don't worry about that.
Okay.
I ended up working in for a guy called Keith. Actually, he's a big Jewish dude, and he had a place called the Witch's Hut in Fulham, and he also had one in Clapham, actually. And I worked in the one in Fulham.
Oh, was it hairdressers?
Hairdressers.
That's weird because the guy, I didn't know his name was Keith, but when I was growing up, my hairdresser was called Keith as well. And I'm not making that up. It sounds like I am. But he used to do the thing where you sort of put a bowl on your head and cut around, and you all look like Baldrick, when you walk.
Well, Keith was a good hairdresser, but he was also a chancer. I seen him one day cutting this girl's hair, and he was always very sort of doing all the moves and getting all around the hair and twisting it and whatever. And I remember sweeping it all up, and he must have been at this girl's hair for maybe an hour, and I swept up like 4 hairs off her head. And I remember thinking at the time, going, Jesus, how was he at her hair for so long and didn't cut any hair off? And the girl came back the next day and she was like, you didn't cut any of my hair off. And I was standing laughing my balls off.
Well, I mean, I don't think you don't usually get paid as a hairdresser for the quantity of hair you cut off.
No, but it was funny, that one haircut. I mean, I'm sounding like I'm slating by Keith, but he was a sweetheart to me. That one haircut, I don't know, he must have been out the night before or something like that. But he didn't
want to take the risk.
Maybe so. She was this beautiful French girl. But I mean, I was 19 years old, working in a hairdresser's in London with an Irish accent, and all these girls would just come on and be like, can I have him wash my hair, please? I would be like, come on over.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah, it wasn't a bad job.
Great work if you can get it, Keith. It's the way forward. Have you thought of going back to that?
I actually thought about doing it for a while when I was there. Like, I contemplated becoming a hairdresser because it actually is. It's a tough job for all those people who do it. They're on their feet all day and they have to chat to people, and you're basically hosting people. People come to the hairdressers, they have a nice time and relax, and you were getting to use your hands and be somewhat creative. So I did think about it for a brief moment, and then I was like, fuck that.
Well, the thing is, I mean, that's the thing about being a musician and a singer and an artist like you are. I mean, and also even in my job, being a producer, I mean, as you know, my role is quite artistic anyway, because I'm usually playing instruments or writing arrangements or doing that sort of thing. But there's always a point, of no return where you do it and you go, should I be doing another job? This is too risky. Can I make a living? Can I buy a house, support a family? And then you go, fuck that, I'm doing it anyway. So that's what I did. I mean, my wife very early on, I mean, obviously I've been with my wife for 30 years or so, but she suggested I retrain quite early on, obviously with the view that she kind of saw the path rolling out in front of her of poverty and all the rest of it. And I sort of lay awake at night with those words ringing around my head going, fuck that. No, I'm a musician. That's what I'm doing. And I'm not doing anything else.
Yeah, it's funny. Every now and again, too, I'd be like, geez, it must be nice to have just like a paycheck handed to you every Friday that you're going to get. and you know your bills are going to get paid, and it's like, especially for me, like I'm a touring musician, so like I get paid twice a year when I go on tour. Like, I'll like say like the tours that I got cancelled last year. Say I'm going on tour in March this year. We would have started booking that tour in August, September last year and promoted it for 3 months, and none of that work gets paid until you get on actual tour and on the road and sell merch and sing songs for people, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And that sometimes, and even that, there's no guarantees. It's like going gold mining in a river. You're going to get some, but you're hoping you're going to get a lot. And when I say a lot, that means just tickets.
Yeah.
It's all a numbers game, really.
I think that's really organic, though, that process that you do. And I mean, I know that you sort of built quite a bit on the Celtic Thunder thing, but nevertheless, you kind of created your own world there, where you go out there as Keith Harkin, people come and see you, you sing your own songs, you do that thing. I think that's really impressive, actually, in this day and age. It's like a traveling minstrel, like a troubadour. It's incredible.
It is cool, man. Like, it's funny, it still strikes me days like I've been most places in America and Canada, and some days, I might pull into a town that I've never seen before, which is a rare thing, and I might pull into this town in the middle of nowhere, and I'll set up my gear in some wee venue, and you haven't spoke to anybody yet, and the guy will be like, "Oh, you've sold 140 tickets tonight," and you're like, "What?" Like, where are we? And when you rock up and you start singing songs, and you hear people in the crowd singing songs that you've written, and it is it takes you, like, it's quite a weird thing. You shouldn't let those moments pass. I normally stand there and I would say it. I'm like, I'm so grateful to coming from where I came from, in a small town in Derry City in Ireland. And now I'm in the middle of one of the biggest continents in the world, where the biggest competitions for music are in the world. And I'm in a tiny club in the middle of nowhere, and all you people are singing my song, And for me, that's as good as it gets. And I'm sure any musician will tell you the same thing. Any musician does that. I mean, that is sort of for me anyway, that's the golden thing to gather.
That's right. Absolutely. I mean, I think that's amazing, and it's nationwide as well for you, isn't it? Sort of east coast to the west.
East coast to west, a good part of Canada, and then I done one solo tour in Australia. I was supposed to be in Australia at the moment on tour, and I done one solo tour in Australia a year and a half ago, and the whole tour basically sold out. 90% of the tour sold out, so I was super excited to get back to Australia and do it again, but obviously that ain't happening. We ain't doing that.
Yeah, I mean, I just think the world is going to wake up to be a different place, but it will return. I mean, there's never going to be a world where there's no singing and dancing and a performance and entertainment. I mean, I think, and obviously, where we are here in London is one of the worst places in the world at the moment for COVID. But I do think there's sort of signs that it will abate and it will get dealt with in the end. I can't think that's the end of it. And in terms of recorded music, I mean, obviously there's quite a lot of work that you can do without actually having anyone around, so provided you've got a vocal to work with or something like that, you can build some arrangement. But actually, there's a couple of projects that are on hold for me because, I've got to work, with the singer, the artist and the band. And I can't, they can't travel. In some cases they're not sort of mainland based, or the UK based. There's an artist who's in the Channel Islands, and they're really, really tight there. You can't travel without 2 weeks quarantine and all this sort of stuff. So it is what it is. But I think it's just a patience game, isn't it? Especially for you, I would say.
For me, it's a pain in the ass. It really is. Like, I could book a tour right now and I might be able to do it, but I can't afford. I think as a lot of fans too don't really understand the logistics of a tour. Like, if I book a tour now and it's for 4 or 5 months from now, and it's a 3-month tour or even a month-long tour, and I get on tour and I've got Vetsio on bass and Peter on keys and Jeff and Pat and the band all with me, and I'm paying those guys like whatever a week, and that's going to cost me the guts of 10 grand a week with my tour manager. And then I get to Washington State, and Washington State is shut down. They just decided to close it down the day before, and I lost out in 5 shows in a row. That means I have to send everybody home. So therefore, because if I haven't got the way a tour works is, every show has got a small margin, and that's how you make your money at the end of the tour.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
if I have a week, Yeah, it's the same. So if I have a domino taken out of that line, they're going to stop falling, and I just can't make that happen until it's guaranteed that I can go out and actually physically finish a tour that I'm doing. There's no point in even thinking about doing one.
Absolutely. And of course, I'm very well aware of the fact that, some gigs sort of pay for other gigs. You got to do the full tour, but there are some gigs that make a very small amount of money, if anything. And there are others that make quite decent money that sort of pay for the kind of the whole run of the thing, keep it all going.
Yeah, for example, like I would always do super well up around Chicago. I'll do like 2-3 shows, 3 days in a row, the suburbs sold out. And then I'll make my way across, like Erie, Pennsylvania, all those tiny towns up along there. And I love playing there, but like you're not making any money. But what those days do is they pay for the gas and they pay for the food and pay for the band in order to get to New York for doing your big show, in order to get to Philadelphia to do your big paid show.
Yeah.
And it's just logistically, it's just an absolute mess for touring. I'm currently looking to book a tour for March 2022, which is insane to even think it's that far away. But I feel like I'm going to have to do something. And by then, I'm hoping that there's going to be some sort of instant test that someone can do at the door of a venue, or like, I don't know. I just...
Well, I mean, one of the problems that we've got with certainly with, large theatres and arenas is that they're pretty much all booked out for 22 now, because the bands that were going out in 2020 that pushed back to 2021 and now having to push back to 2022, and some of them already anticipated that and have already booked out those venues. So it's actually hard to make a route at the moment with bands, that because the venues are just sort of so crammed with people that expect that it will be okay to go on tour in 2022.
Yeah, it's a weird one for sure. But in saying that, I've been doing online shows now since March last year. And I've been doing them for about 6 years, but since March, I've been doing them every week, at least 1 or 2 shows a week. And I think the only good thing that came out of the pandemic for artists who have been doing the online shows is that the audience now understands an online show. Beforehand, before the pandemic, I'd be like, tune into my online show, and people would be like, why would I watch a show online? Like, why would I want to do that? And now, even after, like, the pandemic's basically in a lot of states in America, it isn't really happening. It is happening, but they're just ignoring it. They're dealing with it in their own way. And I thought that because of that, my tickets would have dropped away down in my online shows, because the majority of my audience is in America, but it actually hasn't. A lot of people are still tuning in the online shows. Online shows now have become something almost like a Spotify. They've become something like an iTunes. And I don't see them going away, which is a good thing for an artist, and it's a good thing for the viewer as well.
Yeah.
If you're not going out on a Friday night and you see Mick Hucknall, your favorite artist, and you can sit and have a beer in your living room, watch a live show, a one-off show, and for like $5, I mean, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah. And of course, you can oversell the venue by as many times as people will buy the tickets for. So if you've got a venue that holds 10,000, you can presumably sell 100,000 tickets. I think BTS sold 14 million quid's worth of tickets, I think, for one show.
Who's BTS?
Yeah. Well, they're probably the biggest boy band in the world. They're the K-pop band, the Korean band.
There you go.
They're huge.
BTS?
BTS, yeah.
And what kind of stuff? Like just pure pop?
Pure pop, yeah. Check it out.
They sold how many tickets?
Oh, I mean, check it out. I can't remember, but it sold millions and millions of tickets for their thing. Hang on. Yeah, BTS.
I'll check.
Pretending like I know here, I suddenly go, oh, they're called BTS. No, but they are.
What's BTS stand for?
It doesn't, a big load of shit. It doesn't sort of quite work, does it?
Yes.
That would be BLS. It's pop. They're good-looking Korean boys, and it's big. It's really big. You wouldn't think it'd be, but they'd sell out several nights on the trot of the O2 here easily.
Are they as big as Chico Time?
Yeah, but it's getting there.
Is Chico Time? I started following that. I'm saying, is Chico Time? Chico, what's his full name?
Well, he's in Portugal at the moment.
Oh, really?
Yeah, his name's Chico Slimani, I think it is his surname. I should get in touch with him and find out where he is. By the way, he is adorable. I mean, I really love Chico, and I write to him usually on New Year's Eve, and I maybe occasionally see him. I did see him a few times when I had the bigger studio. He was doing a workout video. He's a really fit guy, by the way. So he was doing a workout video. He'd got new songs, and he was doing them as a new workout scheme with Chico.
Yeah, that's what I seen him doing online. That's what.
Yeah, he does that sort of stuff, and but he's great. Honestly, he's a really great guy, and it's that whole thing. I mean, that song originally was something that Roche had written this piece of music for Tom Jones, and it was called "Shake It, Baby." And I'd been watching. I think it was it X Factor? I think it was actually called Pop Idol.
Pop Idol, that's right.
Pop Idol at the time. And I was watching that sort of religiously with the view that some of them, wind up probably on my doorstep at some point. So good to know who they were. But in the meantime, Mark Hudson, who was Sharon Osbourne's vocal coach, he is a really good friend of mine. He's from LA and lives in New York, I think, at the moment. He's an older guy. He was in a boy band as well. And then he ended up producing Aerosmith and various other bands. But he ended up producing the band Hanson. You remember those kids, the three kids? That's right. But not that album. The following album, believe it or not, was a Christmas album. And it was out for Christmas in America in 1997. And I did that record with him. It was one of the last records I did predominantly as a musician, but we hit it off and we got on well. And anyway, so that record was number 2 in America at Christmas. It was big. And that album, anyway, and it's still great to listen to now because it's all the best Christmas songs with those 3 kids singing it, who are now, by the way, in their mid to late 30s or early 40s. I mean, fucking hell, it's amazing.
They're old. But, I mean, I'm in my mid 30s. They were a bit older than me. They must be in their 40s. Well, the oldest guys for sure.
Ike was 16, I think, 15. This was 97. So if he was 15, and it's 23 years ago, so it'd be 35. Yeah, it'd be, 37, something like that.
There you go.
And then Taylor was the middle boy. He was about 14, and Zach, the drummer, was 12. That's when we were doing it. Anyway, so Mark Hudson became a friend, and we kept in touch. And he became Sharon's vocal coach on X Factor. And I was watching it every week. And of course, there's that thing where Chico came on and said, what time is it? It's Chico time. So I met Mark for dinner, and he said, we should do It's Chico time. And I went, that's a really good idea. So the next day, I kind of looked through all the songs that were in progress. And I had this song that Roach had started called It Shake It Baby. I think it was originally for Tom Jones. And anyway, so then I put it up and started singing It's Chico time in all the spots. Then Mark wrote a lyric. Chico heard it the next day, came in, sang it, played it to Simon. This was sort of between sort of Sunday and Tuesday, Wednesday. Played it to Simon Cowell, who said, yeah, you're going to play it on the show on Saturday. So within a week of writing that song, it was on Pop Idol. And I think still to this day, it was probably the only song that they've had that was not a cover on
really
there. And so of course when it came out, it went straight to number 1 and was there for a couple of weeks, 2 or 3 weeks or something. So
what do you call that guy again? Mark who?
Mark Hudson.
Is he the guy with like the colored goatee?
That's the fella.
Do you remember us on my 19th birthday?
Oh, was he there? Was he?
You, I, Mark, and some other guy. Who was he? He was like Russian or something, or it was like he might have been in like the Russian mob. I don't know who he was, but we ended up going to a certain club, and do you know who was sitting next to us? I don't even know if you remember this. Lemmy from Motorhead was there.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, I saw Lemmy out a few times because I wonder if it was the San Moritz Club or was it more a club with girls in it?
It was a club with girls.
We wouldn't do that.
It was actually, you know what? It was weird. They were all naked.
Never been to such a club in my life.
I remember Lemmy sitting next to us, and I just remember I was like just turned 19 years old. and Lemmy was sitting next to us, and I was like, "That's fucking Lemmy from Motorhead." I turned around and I was all, and he was just sitting on his own, no entourage, and two chicks, one under each arm, with a bottle of Jack in front of him, and I was like, all I could say was, I was all, "Are you Lemmy from Motorhead?" And he goes, "Yeah."
Right.
That was the end of the
Right.
conversation.
Damn right I am. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's Mark anyway.
Yeah. He's a good guy, man. I mean, I only met him that night, but
Oh,
we
yeah,
hung out that evening.
yeah, he's funny, and no, he's funny as fuck. And
He's
I
so
always had
eccentric.
stories. He had brilliant stories, you know. I mean, he had a really kind of interesting career because he was in a boy band with his two brothers, the same as the Hanson kids when he was a kid. So he was obviously the ideal person to work with the Hanson kids because he'd had that experience. But not only that, he was the singer on the Late Show, and I think it was the Late Show before Letterman took over. I think it was Arsenio Hall, and also Joan Rivers. So he was the guy, you know, the music guy.
Yeah.
Joan Rivers and Arsenio Hall, and so you know he had story after story about that experience because you know you're doing the biggest show in America or one of the biggest shows in America, and you know the funniest fucking people turn up for that and do the maddest things, you know. So, but I mean, he knew how to tell a story, that was for sure. And so actually, when we were working with the Hanson kids, it was a residential studio, and so, and of course, when it's a residential studio, there's always a cook there who cooks nice homemade food, and you stop at 7 o'clock, 7:30, and you have a dinner, you know, there with homemade food, and then after dinner, the kids would go, "It's Mark's story time. Tell us a story, Mark." So it was a bit we all look forward to every day because they were always great stories. I mean, I don't know if they were all true, but they were certainly funny.
Who cares?
Yeah. So yeah. In fact, we're still really in touch now. Not so often because it's a long way away, and you know.
Where does he live, LA?
I don't know. I mean, he comes from LA. He either lives in LA, back in LA, or he lives in New York, depending on whether he's still with that last girl that he was with. I don't really know.
Yeah, speaking of residential studios, man, I need to get you out to our studio, which is under lock and key right now, sadly. But
Yeah, absolutely. We really want to come, and we want to, you know, follow up on the Mercy Street album with a new bunch of songs would be amazing, you know.
which I have, let me tell you, I've got so many good songs. Well, just for without confusing people who's listening, Gav, who is also Andy's sidekick, I should mention Gavin Goldberg. Gav is currently mixing the record that I recorded in October 2019. Jesus, it's hard to believe that it's still sitting here on a shelf, but it was never intended to be that long. I ended up recording it with Brett Denon and Austin Jenkins, and it's currently getting mixed. And Gav is doing a killer job on it. I had it going through the speakers in this old house yesterday. It's kind of been hard for me to have a good listen to it because I'm just using random speakers everywhere. But it's sounding really good, and I'm super excited.
Yeah, I don't doubt it. I mean, actually, I've heard little bits and bobs. He's through that wall there, possibly working on it at the moment. He might be doing something else today, but yeah, I mean, Gavin's amazing, and you know, mixes all the records that I make pretty much. I mean, I'd occasionally dabble myself, but you know, generally speaking, I'm kind of, you know, seeing the project through, working on the arrangement and conceptualizing, I suppose, from the off about how we go about it, who's going to be in it, and what sort of version we can do of the songs. But Gavin's obviously, you know, a key part of that chain, and we've been working together now for almost 17 years. So there's a lot to be said for that kind of longevity, because it's not. But pretty much all that you know, there's no problem with communication there. You know, we've gone through those periods of time where we've learned exactly what is meant by certain ways of saying things. You know.
Yeah.
So, and I defer to Gavin on all things sonic in a way. I mean, and if I don't like something he's done, it's easy for me to say, because I usually really like what he does, and if I don't like it, I can usually elucidate that and say I don't like that because I don't think that's a good. Occasionally, he goes off on a flight of fancy, as do we all.
We all do.
So, but he's really, really solid, and I'm sure it's going to be really, really special when it's done.
Yeah, man, I'm super excited about it. Of
course, I'm having to sort of stand, you know, with my nose pressed against the window with that. And go, what's going on there? No, I'm delighted that he's able to do that. But you know, the sooner we can crack on again,
Oh, I know. Like that record's sitting there right now. I've spent tens of thousands on it. To this point, getting it all ready with flights and accommodation for people, and no, just simple things like that. The budget doesn't belong going out the window. And
Yeah.
normally, like when I record a record, I plan on going on tour and selling it, not to make money, but just for it to pay for itself. But I'm not going to put it out until I can really go on tour. Maybe, I don't know. I'm not going to put out the full record anyway until I go on tour and try and make a few bucks back on it, because good old Spotify ain't going to give you no money.
Yeah, so you're not even going to put it out on Spotify until it's ready, yeah?
I don't think so. What's the point? Like, I mean, why? I'm completely 100% against people putting out music for free. I don't understand it. Like, you don't give away free coffees. You don't give away free pints of beer.
Mm.
You
Yeah.
know,
Well, absolutely. I mean, you're of course the rights holder of your own music, which is good. But you need a million streams to make $5,000, of which some of it's mechanical. It's you can imagine, because obviously if you're just a writer on it, only
Yeah.
£1,000 of that 5,000
I know.
is yours, and then half of that split between mechanicals and performance. So 500 quid will come to you through Spotify. And if you've co-written it with 3 people, then you get about 150 quid for £1 million. Then you've got to pay your tax on that, so you get about 65 quid.
Like, it's insane. Like, it's actually insane. 65 quid wouldn't even buy you like a really good like dinner for 2.
Exactly. Well, I mean, I was going to say my cleaners charge that, but that just makes me look like a twat. So
You've said it now.
I've said it. Cheaper than my gardeners, though.
Yeah, man. I don't know. I honestly don't know what they do. Like, the guys are talking about putting it out through AAA, the guys that I recorded it with, and but like for me to pick up for those of you who don't know what AAA is, like that's getting a radio, basically somebody who pushes your song towards radio. And you're talking for one song in the States, like 10, 20 grand just to get one person to do that. And it's like,
I know. It's terrible. It's preposterous. I mean, it's not that here. I know it's different in America, but here, but to get people to go into the radio station and then for to be a high enough level to go in there and actually do something, even then they're going to work on a retainer basis. If they're really good, it's going to be 2 or 3 grand a month for them to go out and try and make your record work. They probably want 3 months for a campaign. And then but there's no guarantee they'll get you any radio. I mean, I've had it loads of times, because see, my work, as you well, I'll explain it. There's sort of 4 tiers of clients for me. There's unicorn artists that are successful, wealthy, pay you well, and they're dead good as well. There's a level tier 1 clients. Level 2 clients have loads of money. That's it. Level 3 clients are really good and haven't got any money.
that's right.
Level 4 clients have no talent, no money. They get the stock response, which is the stock response. I wrote it once when I was replying to someone, because I get the approaches, and you don't want to be rude, but generally
this is like the crazy hot scale.
Yeah, it's very like that crazy hot scale. Well, what happens on the stock response is that somebody sends something. You don't want to eliminate a tier 2, because there might be a tier 2 you don't know. They've just basically sent you their work of art, which is shit, and you basically go, thanks for sending your material through. As I'm not working as a record company, production company, I would need to know that there are resources there to do justice to your music, which is a really polite way of saying fuck off unless you can pay. Because you'd be really surprised. It sounds so mercenary, but it's not.
No, it's not. It's not.
I tell you why. It's because you would be surprised. I mean, I don't make anything of having some kind of profile. It's nice. And I've been working for a long while. I've got some kind of good A-list, artists on my resume. But the truth of it is that it doesn't stop people being delusional and thinking, that I'm going to listen to their thing and go, this is the greatest thing I've ever heard. I'm going to make them into a star. People think that, and then they send it through as if like I'm going to go drop, is Madonna on the phone? Tell her to fuck off. I've got this new thing. This is loads better. So you have to,
Davro.
yeah. So you gotta weed those things out, because also you got to remember that the tier 2 clients, you're going to do a great job and make the music as good as you can, but really those are the ones that pay for tier 3, because tier 3 are the ones that you really want to do. They don't have resources yet, but they've got tons of talent, and you want to work on it. You want to succeed with them and help them to the next level. So you can afford to do that if you've got people there that are paying, effectively for your room. And most, a lot of those clients are international clients. That don't mean international as of in the rock and roll world. I mean, they might be from Kazakhstan, or they might be from Bulgaria or somewhere. Again, have you got enough money for me to do justice to your work? Well, you find out fairly quick. But that's unfortunately the long and short of being in business as a professional record producer. It's like
that shows too why you've been in the game for so long, Andy, because that in itself is part of being a producer.
Yeah. Well, look, everything that you see, but people expect you to come to the studio here. I mean, obviously I can't, because the camera's not really showing around there, but if you're going to you've got to have a studio. You don't want to be inviting people into a shed in your garden to work. I know in your case it's not a shed, it's a fucking wedding venue, and you've got your own pub and everything, as well as a brilliant studio. But it's surprising how many producers out there have just lost the ambition to actually have somewhere in London. So they invite their clients out, and then they go through the front door of the house, they have a coffee, and then they go down a path down the garden into some sort of shed.
I understand exactly. It's funny you just said that, because just yesterday there was like a few new studios just opened up in Ireland, let's just say, without naming anybody. And they're like advertising it as a studio, and they're advertising it to get these people in. And I'm just looking at it going, if your place is a studio, I have fucking NASA out my backyard, because that is not. If anybody that walks in there and you're charging them to use an Apogee, I mean, you're absolutely off your head. Like, that's not what a studio is. It's been the lines of what a studio is has been so blurred now between people, what they have set up in their house. And I'm not knocking anybody for what they have set up in their house, but when you've actually recorded in a proper studio, and you've actually recorded with really good mics and really good gear and really good outboard gear, you know what a studio is. I've recorded in nearly all the big studios. I've recorded in Abbey Road. I've recorded in every studio. I've recorded in orchestras and every other studio around the world. And I know what the big ones look like. And I know there's a reason why the records get made in those studios.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially if you're dealing with music that's, made by acoustic artists or artists that record real instruments. There's no substitute for that, really. You've got to have the facility. You've got to have the right room, the right sounding room, the right microphones, and all of those sort of things. So anyway, yeah, I mean, would that it were different, but that's basically long and short of it. So
yeah,
but you're definitely not tier 2 or 4.
So what? I wish
you waver between tier 1 and 3, but they're both good.
I wish. Jesus, I wish. Well, man, I can't wait to get these out in my studio. Like, for sure, the next record is going to be yourselves, hopefully, and hopefully the old band, get everybody back together in the room.
Absolutely. It's they're just some of the most treasured moments in your life and your sort of music life. Anyway, you've sort of broken down all the barriers with those musicians and the people, and everybody gets on, and and it's funny from first moment to the last. It's such a vibrant environment to have people there.
Like, those moments are the reason. Like, whenever we recorded Mercy Street, those sort of sessions and that making music in that way is the reason why I keep doing what I do. It's the reason why I keep putting my head against a brick wall. When you get to be in a room and everybody just starts yelling. Like, I was actually watching footage. So I done Mercy Street from the entirety, an online show over 2 shows about a month ago. I played every song from start to finish. And I was trying to create a video for a promo thing to advertise it. And I found all this old footage of all us guys in the studio. And there's like a bit where me, you, and Gav are trying to do like an interview, and we're like trying to like talk kind of like almost like a pub where 3 of us are in a line and it's 15 minutes long, and I don't think anybody finishes a sentence without it being a fucking mess. And the 3 of us are like 3 children just sitting there, and it's useless, but it's actually really funny at the same time.
No, I loved it. I mean, that was brilliant, that studio as well, because I had that studio for like 3.5 years before it. I mean, I never didn't own the building, and it was such a fantastic size room. It's beautiful, and
a good studio.
And we really created something. And around the corner, I don't know if you remember, but there was that pub. You know, there was. I mean, there were a few pubs around the corner. There was that one on that corner that we started. We went in, and I sort of put on a night there that you sang at.
Yeah.
Well, and I was so fucking amazing because you know, Sam played that night as well. I remember Sam played it. I think Rebecca played it. Purdy, she did a gig there. There was loads of us all sort of, you know, tumbled around there, and your family were there as well.
Yeah, my mum and dad.
Your mum and dad, and I think your sister was there. And anyway, so I wound up on the Harkin table, passing around a bottle of Jameson's around the table.
Yeah, we're good at that.
Yeah, we weren't even no glasses required. Obviously, these are pre-COVID times.
I was going to say that'd be slightly different now.
Oh yeah. Now we wouldn't even be sitting around the table, but
everybody would have to have their own PBW, personal bottle of whiskey.
Yeah. I'd kind of prefer that in a way, you know. Just there's more of it, of course.
Dude, I need a good day out. Like, I'm due a good day in the rip. Like, I am really good at going on the rip. It's a natural talent. Friends fear when I've got that look in my eyes when I know I'm going to go hell for leather. And I haven't got to do it now since like August last year. And I can't wait till the next day that it happens.
Do your eyes go black and the pupil in the middle goes
like
red?
A fucking shark. They just roll back into my head.
Devil look.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I've been doing dry January, so this is day 18. So the 18th of January today, isn't it?
How many days have you drank?
It is the 18th, thank God. I thought for a second it was the 17th.
One day is going to make such a difference.
No, well, this is day 18. You know, I started on the 1st of January. I told Mick Hucknall that today when I was round there early, and he went, well, you know, the thing is the liver is a very delicate organ. You know, what you don't want to be doing is putting it into shock. I mean, what happens with alcoholics is that you know, he wasn't referring to me, by the way. He was just talking generally about them. Is that, you know, when they stop drinking, they can't just stop drinking like that. They have to go gradually, because otherwise it puts them into shock and all that. And I can't be fucked with any of that. I'm going to have a drink. So I was like, I know what you're saying, and you're probably right, but it seems to be working. I'm 18 days in, and I haven't died yet. I sort of, you know, and I didn't do dry January in 2019. In 2020, but I did do it in 2019, and I worked out that obviously from the 1st of February 2019 to the 1st of January 2021 is 681 days. So I can tell you for a fact that I drank on all of those 681 days, 100%. I didn't miss a day. I think, you know, so.
Yeah. Well done. It's funny you say that. Like, you know, my Hucknall says about, you know, can't come off it because your liver going to shock. I remember one day we were on tour and Patrick Murdoch was in the van, and there was 5 of us in a 9-seater van with all the equipment for a 5-piece band, and it was tight quarters. And I remember one day I was just pounding bottles of water, and Patrick turned around to me and he's like, you know, drink too much water, it's really like sore on your kidneys and sore on your liver. And this is no word of a lie. This was at about 10 o'clock in the morning, and Pat was coming out of the gas station with a 6-pack of fucking Boston Lager in his hand, and he was telling me to stop drinking water, that it's bad for you. And I just looked at him and I went, all right, Pat, okay.
Well, the funny thing is, I did
Yingling, that's what he was drinking.
I did a record with Echo and the Bunnymen, and I mean, you know, when you cast aspersions about anything, but Ian McCulloch, the singer, he doesn't really refer to beer and wine. For him, is not drinking. And I kind of know what he means. I mean, it's like, you know, obviously, you know, hard spirits, whiskey, brandy, that's drinking, and the beer and the wine is kind of equivalent of water. That's what.
I mean, I don't think there's anything. You're not drinking if you have a beer or wine with your dinner. I don't think that's drinking.
That's not drinking.
Nah. So have you been doing that every day over the last 18 days?
No, nothing.
So why? You should just do that though. You can have a beer with your dinner or like a glass of
No,
wine.
I know, because see, it's kind of binary for me. It's either on or off. I've
Oh, I'm the
always been
same.
like that. So if I go, okay, I think this, I mean, I had this idea a couple of years back of doing red February. So you
What's
do
that?
dry January, red February. So you didn't drink red wine in February and nothing else. I mean, I obviously drink water and tea and soft drinks, but you do red wine, so you don't drink spirits and that sort of thing. But it's difficult, isn't it? Because
There was a film festival in Derry City about 15 years ago, and these two guys done a thing called Guinness Size Me. Remember, like the McDonald's thing was like eat McDonald's every day. They done nothing. You had to drink a minimum of 12 pints of Guinness a day and nothing else for 12 days. No water, no food, no nothing.
But it's got. I mean, it's full of nutrients, isn't it?
And then, like, see the first 2 days, the two of them were like all sparky and full of spunk. They were like, "God, this is great crack. I love it." Come day 3, they were like waking up in the morning, like not even allowed to drink a water, like, oh Jesus, like trying to drink a Guinness. And then come day 4, you should have seen the fucking. These guys were in a bad way. I must try and find that. It must be on YouTube. Guinness Size Me. It's pretty hilarious. And then it gets to the point. They're two Irish guys. Come day 4, they started drinking like 17 cans. 20 cans. They couldn't drink enough.
How did they look at the end of it? Were they sort
rough, like really rough.
Yeah,
like,
no food. They weren't allowed food. Then
no food, no water, just Guinness for 12 days. I'm pretty sure I've done that myself. Huh?
Can they clean the teeth with Guinness just so there's no water past there?
I think. Oh, and they had to wear the same. They wore the same 2 suits. They were dressed like the Blues Brothers the whole time.
How old were they?
They're probably like 30.
Yeah, well, so you can do that when you're 30. You get the fucking late 50s.
I don't know, man. Like, I'm definitely not made of the same rubber that I was made of when I was 18, like 19, 20. Like, when I lived in London, I could go like a week without sleeping.
Yeah.
And work every day and go out every night and then go back to work.
It's great. I could do that even in my 30s. Well through, fucking it was great. But I really can't now. So I've just got to kind of take some steps. It's funny because my son Jonathan, he's 27 now, and he likes a bit of a drink as well. Anyway, so him and his girlfriend, they've got a little baby who's 4 months. They're doing really great with it. I mean, it's great fun. But he says, oh yeah, so you're doing dry January, Dad? Yes, yeah, we can do dry January. He says, yeah, I'm doing it too. I said, I'm really looking forward to it, actually. I just feel like I need to take a break. I said, okay, great. Oh, well, that's good. We'll do it together, yeah. So I found him on January the 2nd. So I didn't speak to him. I tried him on January the 1st, but he didn't pick up. So January the 2nd, I spoke to him. I said, so how you doing? He says, yeah, doing okay, Dad. I said, how's dry January going? He said, well, I had a beer yesterday morning because I had a bit of a hangover from the night before because I drank a lot being the last day, So it was just New Year's Day being on a Friday. So I said, okay, so well, that's that's all right. So he said, yeah, but it's only yesterday, so today I've had one today, but that's it. And then so the next day they came round and he was just drinking as normal. So I said, oh, dry January. He said, yeah, I'm starting tomorrow because it's Monday, so it's just ready for sort of have a bit more the weekend. We'll start tomorrow. And I saw him on the Tuesday or Wednesday. So I said, how's dry January going? He says, fuck it, I haven't done it. I said, that is the most epic fail that I've ever heard.
I mean, like, he doesn't even try. You didn't even try.
He didn't even make it through the morning of the 1st of January.
I never say that I'm going to do one of those things. I never say it. One time I actually went off booze altogether for 3 months. One time.
I bet you were right twat.
I was just no fun at all. I was just fucking no fun. I can't remember what came upon me, but I just decided to not fucking do it. And I went off the drink for 3 months. And like, I don't really drink much anymore, to be honest with you. Like when I go on tour, I'll have a few beers if I have the next day off or something like that. But when I'm home, now with like a kid who's like nearly 2 years old, waking up with a 2-year-old screaming on your head puts a whole new dimension to a hangover.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. I've been there, done that one. So if people say to you, they tell you, you go, so how's it going with the drinking? Yeah, no, I stopped all that. Yeah, why are you buying?
Oh, 100%. Like, I mean, yeah, for sure. I'd say I'm not really drinking anymore, but I'm dying to go for a night out. Like, I love In Ireland, we have the crack. We all, like, English
Yeah.
people don't know what the crack is. In America, I say it and I have to explain it. Irish people, I love having the crack. I'll do anything to have the crack. Life
Yeah.
is all about having the fucking crack.
I like
And
the crack.
without a doubt, drink fuels the crack. When you get Irish people together in a pub, like I can't wait to get everybody over at our place for a couple of weeks recording with a fire lit every night and the Guinness tap floating in the
Well, listen,
bar.
I mean, if it's the middle of summer, well, you don't want to have the fire lit.
Oh, you will.
Just for visual.
Oh, it's great. You light the fire all the time. It gets cold at night time in Ireland. I mean,
Yeah, of course it is. Yeah, yeah. I actually used the word crack in a lyric. I wrote a lyric and I had used the word crack. I'll see if I can find it actually. If I've got the, I'll read you the thing. Wait, because I've got my laptop here. Lyrics.
speaking of songs, whilst you look for that, I sang the song last night. I did on a show, an online show called The Hootenanny, and it was all country songs. And I sang that song that you and I wrote.
Oh, that one recently. We mean
The one about the man in the leather pants, last man standing.
Last Man Standing. Yeah. When did we write that? Was 2019 or something?
Yeah, I can't remember when it was. I was over in London doing something or flying through. We had one day. I can't really remember.
Oh yeah. No, I loved that. It was great. It was called.
Last Man Standing.
Oh shit! Continue.
Oh, the song you're looking for with the crack.
Yeah. Anyway, fuck it. I can't find it. But anyway, it would have been funny if I could have said it because it was good using the word crack.
Actually, well, the song on Mercy Street, the song September Sessions, the one of the piano.
Yeah, I know, it's great.
And the crack isn't that?
Is it?
Yes,
of course it is. Ba-dum, ba-dum, bum. It's great, that.
Crack, salt water and the crack along with me. Aye, the crack.
Yeah. Have you done any more songs on the piano since?
Yeah, actually, when I was home, I've got a really nice baby grand in the studio. I've got a Rhodes, I've got a Honor Pianette T, I've got a Whirly, a really nice Whirly. And I just, when I'm home, I actually do write a lot on the piano.
Yeah, because that was lovely. I mean, that was a very Tom Waits, that sort of style, but I really liked it.
Yeah, I actually wrote a song, Andy, that I remember I was playing it for you. I would love it if you could just do something with it. And I wrote it. It's all about When This Is All Over, it's called. It's like, when this is all over, I want to be out on the streets with my friends and my family. When this is all over, we will unite. The loss of the loved ones, I want to run when I am free. I want to kiss a stranger out in the street. That's
really nice. I tell you what, you should do the Mick Hucknall style and just send it me on your iPhone, just on your you just record it.
Do you know what I'll do actually? Tomorrow I'll send you a vocal in key and on time to a click.
Yeah.
And then I have a rough piano recorded somewhere that I done. I'm not a good enough piano player to play it, and I've done it in one take, and it's rough, but it'll give you the idea of what I'm going for. But it's like a super good pop song. It's super poppy.
I really like that one you just sang. It was really good. It's great.
Yeah, it's called When This Is All Over. I'm going to go.
That's a lovely title,
Yeah, it's kind of the concept of like, I think everybody's thinking about that. Jesus, when this is all over, I'm going to go here. I'm going to give my mum a hug. I'm going to go for a beer with my friends. I'm going to just walk on the street with and say hello to people and, just regular shit like that.
I mean, I think it's been very much longer run than we were expecting. I mean, if I look back through my text, just to beginning of March last year, or March, second week of March, it all really sort of started to kind of explode here last year. There was, it went from being like nobody not quite knowing. I mean, I went home. I didn't want to say I told you so to my wife, but I said, oh, I spoke to Nairn on the phone, and I said, this thing. Oh, it's going to be just like the flu, people dying of flu. I mean, it's nothing. And Nairn said, now I beg to differ, because I can tell you now, this is a very, very serious thing that's happening here. Because he'd read all the WHO reports and the SAGE and all the other things. I mean, he's a very, very kind of studious guy. So I got in and I said, I was just going to Nairn. I mean, he thinks this thing is going to be. And she said, oh, Nairn, the prophet of doom. There's not going to be anything in it. And even people like Trump, of course, stupid Trump was sort of saying, it's nothing. And of course, within 2 weeks, everyone realized it was like fucking hit the Titanic hitting the iceberg, which is basically what it has, you know. I mean, you can imagine when the Titanic hit the iceberg, loads of people were going, "Oh, that was a bit of a nasty bump." Oh, what was this? Anyway, as I was saying, you know, could you pass me the butter, please? You know, and then all of a sudden they realised that, you know, that ship was going to sink, and that's basically what it's been like, hasn't it?
Yeah, man. I mean, our Rebecca, she was on the Diamond Princess, that big boat that was in.
Was she?
That's so, like, we were in the depths of it way before it even came to the UK. My poor mum and dad and me, our head was completely fried because Rebecca was playing on that ship, which was that was the biggest epicenter of bar Wuhan in the world whenever it all started kicking off.
Yeah.
And Rebecca was trapped in a cabin with her partner Kurt for over nearly 3 weeks. And not a window. They were basically not given any water. They were like, it was because they were staff and they were treating them like garbage. And it was awful, and nobody then knew what it was. Nobody knew if you even like touched somebody that you caught it and you were going to die. Every other day they would just hear like sirens pulling up and people getting stretchered off the boat. It was absolutely horrible. And eventually the only way Rebecca got off was because her partner was Australian, and the Australian government recognized Rebecca as being his partner, and took her to Australia. We haven't seen her since. That was February last year.
Oh, she's been in Australia the whole time?
She's been in Australia since now. And then I had to go on tour. So like I was sort of in the depths of it, and I was contacting I was going on tour that March straight away after that, and I was contacting all the venues in the States, asking them, and they were basically going, "Shut up, don't be stupid." And I was like, I'm not. And I was in two minds whether to go or not. And I left and went on tour, and I got 6 shows into the tour and had to cancel it and come home.
Same thing happened with Simple Minds. They had the whole tour. And they started the tour. This tour started in Scandinavia, and you know, about a few nights in, then it all started to break. And then there was this thing where they did 2 or 3 shows where they limited the audience to sort of, I don't know, 5,000 or something, or maybe 2,000, because it was Scandinavia, so there's probably 4,000 venues, and so they limited to 2,000. And so they actually did 2 shows a day. They contacted all the people.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they did 2 shows a day for 2,000 each for 2 or 3 shows. But then, of course, the whole thing, everyone, you know, you've got a tour like that where they're so invested in the merch and everything. You know, they got like, you know, Simple Minds 2020 tour.
Same as me, dude. I know I'm not Simple Minds, like, but I bought my year's worth. I bought 3 tours worth of merchandise before I went on tour in March, and I only got 6 shows. I was supposed to do about 100 shows last year, and I only get 6 shows done. So I have boxes of merchandise with everything written on them. I spent tens of thousands on it.
Well, you sort of offer them as collector's pieces, really.
Yeah, but you know, like everybody else, you'd rather have the money in your bank account than sitting in boxes full of T-shirts.
Yeah, I would definitely, yeah.
Yeah, so that's sort of, I mean, there's been so many. It's been a cluster mess for tours. It's just been an absolute nightmare,
isn't it?
Massively. Well, Andy, I'm going to let you go, brother.
Okay.
Is there anything you want to? Is there any final words of wisdom of life, or you know?
Well, I mean, not really. No, I don't really like imparting wisdom unless people ask me something specific. Is there anything you wanna ask specific? I mean,
No.
You know, it's always a bit dangerous to give words of wisdom, isn't it? I mean, I think the great thing is if you're a musician, and you don't have a B plan, that's probably about right.
Yeah.
You shouldn't have a B plan. Just to, you've got to somehow work your way through. And in the words of Chrissy Hynde, get out in a fucking van and go touring around America, sitting in the back of a van, and then when you've done that, then you can fucking talk. I mean, she's very much like that. So I really respect her point of view, and
I agree.
I agree. I think a lot of people are sort of hedging their bets a bit with music, and that's why people quit. It ain't for quitters. You got to either do it or don't do it, and then it's the hard times, will come. Even if you're doing well, the hard times will come because sometimes you're dealing with yourself, and it's not that you haven't got the money or you've got the success. It's just that you can't deal with yourself.
Yeah.
You've just got to work it through. That's what life's about for everybody, isn't it?
So, yeah, being a musician can be a dark, lonely place sometimes. all those good songs come from a place all those songs come from a place that isn't always nice, but you have to go to that place in order to find them, I find,
Yeah, or you have to at least have been to that place.
or have been to it.
Yeah, so you can sort of borrow back from it, and then if it becomes a distant memory, it gets harder and harder. I found that all the best songs are ones that are sort of done out of some kind of integrity. I'm talking largely about the lyrics here, or the marriage of melody and lyrics, but it's usually the story, the narrative that's everything to a song. And I think there's nothing worse than being too sorted. You've got to drag the ideas up from the dark recesses of your soul.
I mean, that's definitely the only way to do it. Otherwise, there's no point. Throw it out from your soul. It's the only way to do it, man. I'm going to call this podcast "Throw It Out from Your Soul."
Yeah. Hey, but listen, it's just great to talk to you, and I'm a fan. I'm a fan of you. I love your music, but I'm a fan of you and what you
Thanks,
do.
Andy.
I think I'm always proud to have been, one of the people that was there around the beginning with your music journey.
Dude, without a doubt, hanging out with you guys in the studio for me was like when I was like, I don't know if you know this, but one of the first days that I was in Metropolis Studios with you guys, I was sitting out by the restaurant. Remember the restaurant and bar upstairs?
Of course, yeah.
And Richard Ashcroft from The Verve walked in, and he'd pulled up in a big cream, I don't know if it was a convertible or not, Mercedes. Yeah. And I was and at that time, I mean, he still is huge, but at that time he was huge, and I grew up listening to Britpop and listening to Brit rock and that, and he walked in with a McDonald's and sat down at the table next to me, and he just goes, "Do you want a chip?"
Good lad.
And I was just like 18, I was all, no, I'm okay. Being pure Catholic politeness. I was like, no, I'm okay, thank you.
Well, that's interesting. That's interesting because when I was at Sphere, the script were there. They script had their own studio.
Yeah.
We saw the scripts every day. We played table football with them, and there's Mark and Danny, the two guys there. Anyway, they're really great guys and really good fun, and they were friends and everything. And anyway, they were eating their lunch outside my studio, and they had got fish and chips. And I walked out, and I just took a chip out of his thing, and he fucking lost his mind.
What?
Mark from the script lost his mind. He lost his temper because I put my hand in his fish and chips. I mean, obviously these were way pre-COVID times, and I was really apologetic. I went, whoa, sorry, buddy. It's a chip thing. You sort of, everyone puts their.
What? No, what actually? What did he say? Like, what happened?
He literally lost his mind when he lost his temper because I put my hand in his food. I mean, I suppose he's got a point, but I just wasn't really thinking this is like a mate. So give us a chip, mate. And then he was really fucking annoyed.
Well, listen.
And I think we called it Chipgate after that.
What's his name? Anyway, which one of them was out of the script?
Yeah, the guitarist Mark.
Oh, fuck. I hope I run onto him. I'm going to give him some stick.
I don't think he meant it. I think I just caught him at a bad moment. Sometimes people lose their mind.
Nah,
pissed off about something else.
Nah, I disagree. Man, if someone reaches in for a chip, you don't fucking...
Yeah, you give him a chip. Yeah, sure, man. Take a chip. It's a chip thing, It's like, obviously, Richard Ashcroft is quite happy to give you a chip.
But yeah, I remember being on there, and Richard Ashcroft goes to me, "Do you want a chip?" And I was like, "No, thanks, I'm okay."
But he's a really lovely guy, Richard Ashcroft. I mean, he was there a lot, and I really like him, got on well with him. And, actually, funny thing, I was never really a Britpop fan because I wasn't really that fond of Oasis or Blur, and they were the two main protagonists. I much preferred the trip-hop period and was involved in that a bit. But but I wasn't really mad on Britpop territory, but I did like the Verve, and I really like his solo stuff. I mean, Music is Power was one of my favorites. It was my favorite song that year when it came out.
Yeah, he had something about him. Like, he definitely did have a more of a musical thing going on.
Yeah, I think it was more about the music with him, and I never felt, I think, Oasis, I just couldn't get into the words. Just didn't really appeal to me.
Well, the words in Oasis don't really mean anything. They even say that themselves.
But that for me is the biggest, aspect of it cut out already from the off.
Yeah. So. Yeah, but I remember, man, being in those studios back then when I was like a kid, and from then on, I was like, definitely, this is what I want to do. Because beforehand, I was just dabbling and I played music in the bar and stuff like that, and I could do it. It was just something that came natural to me. Like, it wasn't like something that was contrived and that I had to work hard to do. So it was just something I just done. And then when I was hanging out there and seeing how much, it was just fun to be in the studio, and it was fun to record, and it was fun hanging out with those kind of people. And I was like, fuck, this is definitely what I want to do. And I've always wanted to own my own studio. There's been a few studios I've been in my life, and I'm like, you know, I want to own a studio. And you don't own a studio to make money. Like, owning a studio is a lot of work. It's a love thing, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I always thought, you know, for me, if I've got a studio, I try and, you know, get it to break even.
Yeah.
If I can break even or lose a little bit of money and not lose too much, then I'm really happy with that.
Yeah, my studio's like that too. Like, for me, it's a bonus. If people rent my studio is for me to record predominantly. You know, like it's for me, it's like a studio that I have, a proper studio.
Yeah.
But like, if people want to come in and pay and stay and record, that's a bonus for me. You know?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So it's yours anyway, and you paid for everything, and it's your land. It's the best case scenario. And as you go through the next sort of, you know, 20 years of which I think will be a very long recording career, you know, and also no reason for it ever to not be. You should be recording songs when you're in your 70s, mate. You know, why wouldn't you? I'm sure I will be, and I've not got that far to go for that. You know, maybe another 15 years or something. But well, actually, it's only another 13.
I wasn't going to correct you there, but thanks for doing it.
Anyway, well, I suppose we better wrap up. But
I better go upstairs and make sure my kid's asleep. Well, Andy, my dear friend, I wish you could have seen me throughout this video, but I've recorded me, and I've been able to see me, and I've been able to see you, and I'll chop it all together at the very end.
Well,
I love you dearly,
and
I hope to God we get to hang out sooner than later. I'm fucking sick of this bullshit of not being able to see anybody, but that's just the way it is.
It's the way it is, but it will change, and
it'll change.
Soon enough. It's going to be a wonderful thing to be with you again. So,
all right. Well, look, I love you loads. Tell Gav I said hello, and I'll chat to you soon, my friend. Thank you so much for being on the podcast.
You're welcome. Take care.
All right, Andy. Peace.
Everybody, take care. Bye, mate.